Welcome to this video, which is concerned about explaining the Revelation chapter 5 verse 6. We read in the Bible, "And I behold, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent forth into all the earth." It is here amazing moment for John, as he keeps seeing a sequence of miraculous scenes and events, and while he was looking with a great astonishment, his eyes were focused on the center of the throne, surrounded by 4 beasts that are angelic beings, and the 24 elders, 12 from the Old Testament and 12 from the New Testament. They saw that the center was suddenly not empty. He saw that John saw a lamp. A lamp stood here. Who is that person? Who is that lamb? I think John, as an apostle of Jesus, he saw a lamb because he has never forgotten when Jesus was crucified. This event has left a scar in his heart. That's why he kept seeing a lamb until now. And don't forget, John is a beloved apostle of Christ. So even here, he couldn't see Jesus as the judge. And the sight of Jesus was only like as he used to. The last moment he saw him, he was on the cross. So, this is what happened. And he forgot, John himself forgot the amazing, wonderful verses which are hard to comprehend by a normal person. Like if we read in John chapter 8, verse 16, "And yet if I judge," Jesus was talking about himself as a judge in the later day. "And yet if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me, like they are one." Also in John chapter 5 verse 30, "I can of mine own self do nothing. As I hear I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father which hath sent me." And another verse in John chapter 5, verse 22 and 23, "For the Father judgeth no man, but hath committed all judgment into the Son, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honoreth the Son, and not the Son, honoreth not the Father, which hath sent him." So we can see here for sure, for certain, that Jesus is the judge. And we continue on that. John saw a lamb, as it had been slain. John saw Jesus covered with his identity as the Redeemer of men, as a lamb, a symbol of his obedience to the Father in order to accomplish the work and get atonement or expiation. That's the cover of sins for men, propitiation. Jesus said, "It is finished, completed." John saw him as his Redeemer. John couldn't see Jesus here as the judge of sinners. This is the important thing in the Revelation. And it actually started as soon as Jesus was risen and sat on the right hand of the Father, waiting to put his enemies under his feet. As in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 25 and 26, for he must reign till he hath put all his enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. I think John read this verse after the verse that Paul wrote. He read it after. In Acts chapter 10 verse 42, and he commended us to preach unto the people, and to testify that it is he which was ordained of God to be the judge of living and dead. I remember an incident 20 years ago when I was telling an acquaintance about salvation in Christ and how Jesus died for everyone because everyone is a sinner. He smiled in a very canning way, and he said to me, we like baby Jesus. And he was like smiling, like trying to make fun, and he added to me, sorry to say it, he said, but we worship the Mother of God. Anyway, the problem is not that. The problem is that people think Jesus is still a lamb. Jesus is still on the cross. The lamb here, as we can see in Revelation, has 7 horns, which means the complete power. Complete power. Horns means power or kingdom. And indicates perfect power, the power of a perfect king. No king was perfect. All previous kings had blemish. Solomon was a great king in the beginning, but in 1 Kings chapter 11, we read that he was following his paganic wives. So here, we don't forget that the horns represent kingly power. In Daniel chapter 7 verse 24, we read, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, but Jesus will be the perfect king. So here we can tell from Daniel that the horns are kingly symbols. Jesus is the King of Kings, because the 7 horns symbolizes that. And if we continue doing that, because I actually write my own comments and read it here in First King chapter 11 verse 1, talking about Solomon, because no king is perfect except Jesus. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. So, of all of the nation concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, you shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto this in love. So he was indulged in the worshipping of pagans with his wives. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. And in verse 5 it says, for Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And in verse 6, and Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did his father David. So we can see here how every king is actually imperfect. It has a blemish, but Jesus will be the King of Kings. Thank you for watching.